Hey everyone, Sean here from the Black Page, and of course, as always, awesome to chat with the man himself, drumming global ambassador Dom Famularo. Dom, welcome once again. And no, most people say you're animated, Dom, but truly, you're embarking on a project where you are actually going to be animated.
It doesn't get any crazier than this, Sean, that's for sure.
Let's talk about Musimations.
There is a wonderful, he's a drummer and he's a recording engineer and he's a cartoonist. His name is Craig Shook. He's from Oklahoma and he had this idea for this teaching lesson slash enthusiastic cartoon.
Okay.
And in all of his, traveling over through the surfing the web, when he came across myself and my voice and my way that I speak, he said, "This is the exact person I need to have for the main character of this particular series, and which is called Tappy Pappy." So he contacted me and said, "Dom, you are the guy to do it." So we actually recorded this 4-minute segment of a demo that we put together, and he mapped this out. And now he's selling this to a variety of different people that are very, very interested in it. And when we recorded the demo, he said, "Dom, I need you to get it. It's got to be a dry room and a dry sound." So instead of me going into a studio, I said, "Well, listen, I could probably record this here at my studio." So we tested it in my studio, but my studio is too lively of a sound. So I said, "I got an idea." So I literally set up the microphone and all the equipment in my walk-in closet in my bedroom. And we actually recorded Skype while he was watching me record these and coaching me along the way how he wanted each, sentence to sound. And as we went along, and my wife was working the actual mixing of the board, I was standing up there with a microphone. I'm in my closet with clothes hanging all around me. It was the absolute perfect sound. We did it. It worked out well. And there's actually some Skype of that recording of that on YouTube and the internet. People can find out of me doing it in my closet.
In your closet, Dom. Well, that's great. So we actually have a reader question as well today. We'll get right to that. Mark Magok. Mark, I hope I said your name right. Magoc comes to us from Facebook and asks Dom, what is the most fun gig you've ever played? That's not a
Wow,
hard one at all, right?
Yeah, boy, great question. What's the most fun gig I've ever had? Well, the obvious answer to that is every gig that I do is fun because I squeeze the most out of every performance. But I will say that I do have one answer. In 1995, the Grey Cup in Canada was held in Regina,
Mm.
and I was asked by CBC Television to be the host of this opening ceremony on the Wednesday before the Grey Cup opened up, to be held in Regina in the Agridome, which holds about 7 or 8 thousand people. And they said, "What would be your ultimate percussion event that you'd like to put together?" I said, "Well, gosh, if you're talking about it," and they said, "Think about it as if money's no object." I said, "Well, gosh, if that was to happen, I would want to have a percussion line, a drum corps line. I'd want to have people from South America. I'd want to have you know North American Native Indians playing drums. So I wanted to pull all these different ideas from drum corps and taiko drumming from Japan. So I gave them this big list of what I'd like to see, and I'd love to see everybody play individually, then everyone play together, and bring all this together, even with modern drum set and having maybe even a electronic drum set there. So just show all the areas of percussion. So I gave them this wish list. Then we left. A week later, I get a call, and they said, "Dom, we're going to make it happen." And they made it happen. And actually, if you go to YouTube and type in Heartbeat World Rhythm and my name, it'll come up of the show of that event. And then what they did after the event happened live in the Agridome, they brought me back a few months later, and we actually went there and edited down for a TV presentation. And it was an hour show that was done on CBC, and it won top educational show like 3 years in a row.
Wow.
So if you get a chance to watch it, it was put up on YouTube, and it was just so much fun because we had every possible connection of artists there. We had Danny Gottlieb that was there on an electronic drum set, and he was able to trigger an actual person that when he played the drums, the person danced through what he played triggered
Cool.
from his electronic drum set.
Cool.
So on these two big 20-foot screens on either side of the stage, Gottlieb is playing a solo while this character is dancing in time to what he's doing.
Nice.
It was as far as that. We had a 6-year-old Steven Singh perform. So we had this young kid come up and play, tore the house down. Taiko drummers up there playing with the big drums. It was completely out of control. We had absolutely every area of percussion there. Then we played together at a finale. The ultimate end of the finale, which you'll see on this recording, we're doing the rehearsal, and during everyone playing, I would count 3, 4, and then cut, and everyone would stop, complete silence. I'd count them back in, and they'd come back in. So I have got this
Nice.
wall of sound that I would stop and come back in.
Nice.
And while we were rehearsing, some guy sitting up in way like about 60 or 70 feet in the air in the ceiling of the Agrodome slides down a rope to come down and say, "Hey guys, I have an idea." He said, "Dom, when you stop the percussion section in that point when it's dead silence, I've got some fireworks I can set off in the ceiling of the Agrodome during that silence." I said, you got to be kidding. I said,
Nice.
"Make it happen."
Nice.
So in the finale, we've got this wall of sound of percussion going on. We do it. I cut them for dead silence. Fireworks goes flying off. I count them back in. It was completely out of control. We had a marching band there. So yes, that was the most fun I've ever had at an event in my life.
Well, there you go, Mark. Probably the most fun any drummer's ever had, to be honest with you.
I got you.
Dom, you do a lot of interesting things. I mean, that's kind of a given. One of the most two things that I really, really admire you about is just your giving to the industry and your ability to just always be upbeat. Let's talk about the sessions. That's such a great little project that's going on. And for those of us that don't know about the sessions, what is it and how can musicians and artists, for that matter, benefit?
Boy, Sean, thank you so much. Great. This is a woman by the name of Jules Fowler who put together a book called Sticks and Skins. And it's a coffee table book. It's a large book that has got over 500 drummers in there. It was a book dedicated to drummers. And there had never been a coffee table type book devoted for drummers. She put this together. And the book now is in the Smithsonian Institute. It's in the Nashville Hall of Fame. It's in the Opryland Hall of Fame. It's in the Grammy Museum. So the book has been acknowledged through all of these great historical events to acknowledge the drumming community. And it was just incredible. At a meeting one day, she said, "Dom, what do you think the next step would be that we can do to help musicians worldwide?" So with a team of people, myself, Liv DeVito, Joe Hibbs, who unfortunately just recently passed away, were a part of the brainstorming session of we put together what we call the sessions. And it's an actual panel of top industry people that we bring this to universities all around the world. It is funded by a non-for-profit organization. So we go to the university free of charge. All the university has to supply is a stage, an auditorium, a PowerPoint screen and a projector, a table for us to sit at, and deliver the students.
Nice.
And she flies us all in, and we talk about a PowerPoint presentation of industry things that are important to be successful. Understanding how to market yourself, understanding social media, understanding what it takes to manage yourself. What are the skills that it takes to really be involved in a successful career in the music industry?
Yeah.
And it's an absolutely wonderful event. So we've done these in several countries around the world. We do about 10 of them a year, and it is absolutely exciting. And when we recently started what's called the Legend Series, which they've asked me to interview top musicians in the field, drummers and non-drummers throughout the world, to put together 20 to 30 minutes of an interview that is on thesessions.org.
Right.
And at the NAMM show recently in January, I was able to interview several people. For example, I interviewed Leland Sklar. Leland Sklar, who is the top bass player, who plays with James Taylor, and he's now on the road with Toto. Great guy, great experiences, and I get a chance to interview them. And the interviews are different. I'm able to step into their world of what inspires them, how did they get started, where does their fuel and their passion come from. So we just had great interviews.
Right.
Then I interviewed Benjamin Wright. Benjamin Wright is the string arranger for Quincy Jones, and his first album that he worked with Quincy on was Off the Wall with Michael Jackson.
Wow.
And if you listen to the tune, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, that's Benjamin Wright's arrangements of how he devised the
Ah,
strings to play rhythmically, so the strings are almost a part of the rhythm of the tune,
right.
as opposed to just being coloring above the
Hmm.
vocals. A brilliant, brilliant man.
Wow.
Then I interviewed Bruce Sugar. Bruce Sugar is the #1 recording engineer in California who records everybody. Ringo Starr, Paul McCartney, my gosh, the Eagles,
Wow.
Michael McDonald. He came in. I interviewed him for the Legend series of the sessions. Then I interviewed Simon Phillips, Steve Smith, Steve Jordan, who rarely
Wow.
does interviews,
Yeah.
and Jim Keltner, who never does interviews.
Yeah.
And it was great to have these guys in a room for an hour. It's about edited down to about 30 minutes of action-packed interviews. So that's what the sessions is about. It's about delivering to the
Incredible.
musical world information you need about the business of music to be successful, to pursue your dreams.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
really amazing.
The other side, or the other community that you're a part of, and I'm also a part of, is Can Do Musos with our friend
Yeah,
from Australia, down under,
yeah.
Andrew. Let's talk a little bit about Can Do Musos and what that great organization does.
Oh boy, Sean. Well, first of all, thank you so much for your support in Can Do's Musos. This is about the most deepest emotional thing I have ever done. It's my favorite adventure that I'm involved in. I invest money into it, I fund it, I make it happen, and it's because I believe in them. And I met Andrew Hewitt, who is he's got type I think quad 4 cerebral palsy,
Yeah.
which means his legs and his arms are affected.
Yeah.
And he is a drummer who plays in Australia, and he came to an event that I was at in Sydney, Australia, and he was in lineup with the people in his wheelchair. So I go out before every event and I meet all the people in line as they're waiting. And when I met him there, I said, Andrew, I said, my gosh, what's your name? Andrew Hewitt, that's great. What do you do? You play drums, and I'm meeting him. I said, well, it's great. I said, Andrew, I look forward to having you come by and be a part of this event today. And he said to me, he says, Dom, I can't come to it. And he was in line. I said, well, why can't you come? He says, because we just learned there's no elevator there, and you're performing on the 3rd floor.
Oh man.
I said, Andrew, I said, wait a second. So I walked down in line, and I chose 4 of the biggest guys I could get in line. And I said, guys, I need you for a second. They came up to Andrew at the front of the line. I said, guys, you're going to carry Andrew in his wheelchair up 3 flights of stairs. And they all said, absolutely.
Wow.
So we literally pick up Andrew and we carry him up 3 flights of stairs to get him into the room, get him into the front row. Everyone comes in, and that was my first meeting of Andrew Hewitt.
Wow.
Mike Mignona, who I had met earlier years before that, the drummer here on Long Island that has type 2 cerebral palsy. He never had the use of his legs. He uses metal crutches.
Yeah.
And with that, he came to a clinic of mine that I had played actually with Billy Cobham in the early 80s. And after the event, he said, Dom, I want to play the drums, and someday I want to play on stage with you. So I said to him, I said, Mike, be careful what you ask for. So I said, I'm going to show you how to play drums. He said, well, just so you know, I don't have use of my legs. I said, not a worry. We're going to use your hands. We're going to make it work. So we took up an 18-inch floor tom and detuned it with like a double-plied head on it to get a deep, like a bass drum sound. And then we adjusted the drum set with toms and moved things around. And he's a lefty, so he played and he used the floor tom as a bass drum. So we just kind of changed some of the sticking so it sounds like he's playing grooves and beats, but he's not using his feet.
Right.
He eventually went on to Musicians Institute and got a scholarship there, graduated with honors, and got a special award from Musicians Institute. And it's an amazing story. And then I met David Siegel at the Coast of Music camp that I've done for the past 20 years with Aldo Mazza.
Yeah.
And at that camp, David Siegel came by, and David has a certain disease he was born with that was his arms, his hands are kind of locked into place.
Okay.
So David said he wanted to play, and we figured out how to get a stick into his hand, strapped around with some gaffer tape, and the stick stays in his hand with the tape. He gets to the drum set, he starts playing with the ride cymbal where it was because the arc of his hand, he had difficulty playing the ride cymbal. So I said, David, why don't we put the ride cymbal on an angle behind you so you can put your hand behind you and play it behind you?
Okay.
Who cares where the ride cymbal is as long as you're comfortable in playing it?
Yeah.
So he did that. We changed the configuration of the drum set. That's the way he plays. He's gone on to play. He graduated Brooklyn College with a master's degree in music.
Wow.
So these are stories that are incredible. So I decided when Andrew had gotten the grant from Australia to come out and study with me, when they came out to study with me, the first thing I did was I said, Andrew, I'm glad you got this grant. Come out, we're going to put 2 days of studying. I contacted David and Mike. I said, guys, I want you here in my studio. We had a meeting with the 3 of them together. It's about 3 years ago now this month. And we said, I got this idea for this organization. And what I was always impressed with each of them is they have this can-do attitude.
Right.
No matter what we throw at them, they say, I can do it. We're going to put the right symbol behind you. I can do it. We're going to put the floor top to the side, make that your basement. I can do it.
Yeah.
It's just incredible to experience it. So we came up with can-do musos. Musos is a term for a very serious musician that is used in Australia. If you're a muso, can-do musos was born. We now have 225, we call them family members,
Wow.
from 24 countries. And if you go to candomusos.com, you go and you read, each person has a page of their own from the country they're in. It costs them nothing to join. If anybody knows someone that's a musician who is challenged, and I use the word challenged as opposed to disabled, because
Right.
disabled, or the word handicapped, these are words that I just don't find proper words, because handicapped, I'm handicapped. I've been wearing glasses all my life. I stammered when I was a kid, and disabled almost makes it sound like they are not able.
Right.
When in fact they are able.
Yeah.
They work computers. Is it challenging? Yes. So I just say they're challenged.
Right.
So with that, we have all these phenomenal musicians from around the world, again, from like 20 some odd countries. If you go there and click on any story and read that person's story, who's not blind, who's got autism, who's got cerebral palsy, every challenge, burn victims, you name it, every challenge you have, when you read the story, if you're not emotionally moved, you're dead.
Yeah. No kidding.
It is absolutely incredible. So these great, great musicians, I'm humbled and honored to be working with them. We have Skype meetings once a month from Australia to Connecticut to Nashville, where everybody is, California. Joe Hardy is another phenomenal member we just brought in on the board. Joe was born with no legs.
Right.
And he rides around in an electronic wheelchair that has an electronic kit on it with speakers in the back.
Yeah.
And he plays all throughout LA in rock bands and does things. Joe's a phenomenal player. He kicks tail. And here he is out there doing it. They just don't see these as obstacles.
Yeah. It's really quite inspiring.
Ultimate inspiration. Yeah, ultimate inspiration.
Absolutely.